welcome to our third communication skills session, in which we cover presenting complicated concept, as in maybe explaining your idea on the whiteboard or to the interviewer your algorithm for the solution. This is the practical example, but we're going to be this is going to be a more general approach. And to dive into it, we have Sak.
Okay, yeah. This is not specifically meant for our areas, not necessarily for tech-based presentations and stuff, or interviews or anything. This is just supposed to be a broad explanation of how to present things generally. So, okay, what we're gonna do? Why we need this? The reason we need this is that we all know that it could be difficult to explain some complicated topics, especially when they're too specific for some audiences and stuff. The presentations that are coming up are gonna apply for speeches, text, presentations. There's nothing specific about this, and there's just ways to make it easier, and that's what we'll be discussing today. What are the problems with complicated topics? The first thing you'd notice is the fact that not everyone thinks like you. Everyone's mindset is different, and the way for instance, the way I explain this will not be the way you understand this, and the way she understands it, and everyone thinks differently, and the aim is to reach everyone's, as many people as possible, with as little time as possible, I guess, with as little resources. And familiarity to the topic, most people may not be familiar to the topic already, so you'd want them to understand. For that, you need to understand how familiar your audience is, and you need to understand your audience really. Different technical background, the audience for I keep saying audience, by the way, but I'm not necessarily meaning those people who are listening to you. This could be people that are reading the texts you're writing, looking at your websites or anything. So when I say audience, consider that in mind. Anyways, they may have different technical backgrounds. For example, you may be a tech person and you may write something about HTML or JavaScript, and those people that are reading it may not have knowledge about those, like they may not be tech people, so you need to understand that, and you need to aim for your audience's technical backgrounds, and you need to consider that basically. Repeating may not be ideal. For instance, in this presentation, if I wrote you something and showed it to you, you may read it again if you don't understand it the first time. But if I'm going to present something, it may not be ideal to repeat it again if you guys do not understand. So I need to present it well the first time. That would be the best way to do it. And let's go over some. Yeah, okay. Let's go over some things that that are preferable to do during presenting complicated topics. The first thing is to mind your words. Try not to use as many technical words or acronyms when you're presenting something, because again, you don't know the audience's technical background, you don't know the audience's familiarity to the topic. So either try to avoid them as much as you can, but there's times when you necessarily need them, and in that case, then definitely explain. For instance, I said audience in this presentation, and I had to explain what I meant by audience. I know that's not too technical, but I had to explain what I meant by it, so it was kind of technical for me. So yeah, we need to mind our words. Acronyms are powerful, I know, but we need to explain what that acronym means the first time, and the rest can go by that flow. The next one is convey just enough information. So when you're presenting something big, you may not be able to present the whole thing at once. For instance, you may have pamphlets that describe what it is in a very high level way. You may have presentations to people that just describe what you're about to do. It could be your website, it could be anything you're going to describe it. And then again, you may have a book about it maybe, or a website about it that describes what it is. Each layer of information needs to be limited to how much it needs to describe. And that way, it's upon the audience to decide how much information they want to learn. So you're following the audience's pace, I guess, and not just your own. Like explaining everything at once will be maybe too much for some audiences, and maybe too little for some audiences, I guess, if they want to know more details. So they need to go for the most detail if they want, and not just you. The next one is find the main focus of the presentation. If you're gonna explain something, instead of explaining the details, this thing does this thing does that, and this thing does that, try to find a common ground for those, and try to try to represent it in an idea and present that idea to people and show those details and how they connect to that idea and how they relate to that. For instance, in this presentation, I think the whole point of explaining big points, explaining complicated things is to get to appeal to the audience's learning mechanism, I guess, learning pattern. And everything that we're going to explain here is to make the audience understand as much as they can, and as much of the audience to understand most of the things you're presenting. Yeah, all right, there's more things we want to do. The next thing is to give the people what they want. Take a presentation of your product. Let's say you made an app and you're supposed to pitch it to some investors. Most of the time, the people you're going to talk to are going to be business people. Those people may not be able to understand the tech components or the application you've built or anything. So the first thing you need to do is hook them, meaning you need to get their attention. In that case, you don't just go ahead and say, my app does this, it's got AI to figure this out, it's got all those this and this and that features that do this and that. That may be cool and that may be very, very awesome for people that understand you and for people that are just like you, or maybe even for you. But those people don't understand that. So start from the thing that they understand. For instance, using this app, you could make this much money and you could sell this much products or anything. So once they know that they're interested in that item, then they're going to get curious about the details, meaning those things that you think are cool can come afterwards. Anyways, the next one is to make it look good. When you're presenting something, obviously everyone wants to see something that looks good. And it's much preferable to show something that people feel comfortable with rather than to bombard them with a lot of information that they can't handle. For instance, it's better to use visual presentations like pictures and illustrations. And if you're going to have to use words and text, you may try to minimize the amount of text you use. And you may want to reduce the number of paragraphs. You may want to separate them, give them more space to make the audience seem like, to make the audience feel like they're not really taking in a lot and make them feel like they can flow with information. And then the last one here is to trying it out first. When you're about to post news or, for instance, let's take something that's on text. Let's say you wrote an essay about the Cologne, I guess. That's just because, like, if you're gonna explain the Cologne and for someone, assume that it's for someone that doesn't understand what it is, and when you want to first read it to yourself and see if you've confused yourself enough, and if you've done that, then you really need to work on your presentation. And the other thing to do is to read it to someone that doesn't understand and to try it out on them, and then their reaction will tell you will be a sample for the reaction of your audience later on. Yeah, I don't know if you remember if you were here yesterday, but we have one more video of the guy from yesterday, so let's watch that.
How have you learned to better distill complex concepts into teachable moments?
Oh, that's an easy answer. I'm an idiot. I'm not smart. I didn't do well in school. I didn't do well in college. And so my push to simplify concepts is so that I can understand them. There's a lot of things I don't understand, and so I ask a lot of questions, repeating back what I think I'm hearing because I don't understand. And so the desire to simplify concepts is for my own understanding. And if I can understand it, then I can share it with somebody because now I have an understanding of it, And the good news is if you make something simple, then it's repeatable. And if you make something repeatable, then it's understandable. And the best part about that is at that point, others can share your thinking without you. So many things that we're taught, whether from a teacher or somebody in industry or, sitting down with your financial advisor, whoever, you can understand it. Hopefully, maybe you think you can for the moment that you're with them, but then go to explain it, what you just learned in the meeting. Yeah. And you're like, I don't know. That's what he said. I don't know. Right. And so my desire is to be able to repeat something, which is why I need to dumb them down. It's no great secret.
I hope that was interesting enough. And now we can move on to our activities, I guess. Yeah. What time is it?
Before we jump into today's activity time, since I had class, I couldn't do any of the slides or contribute in any way. All of this entirely was made by Isak, so if we can hear one round of applause for Isak. So today's activity is going to be, as clearly you can see him cleaning, so we're going to use that.
I thought he liked cleaning.
He also likes cleaning, but additionally.
It's a bonus.
So in this situation, you're again given a list of a word for one person, and instead of acting it out or talking, you're going to draw.
We all know that pictures speak 1,000 words.
And we have one word, so it should be really easy. So pictures, no letters, no symbols, no numbers, just pictures. So it obviously starts from the easy one. Anyone who didn't get it, by the way?
I am the volunteer.
Yeah. No, anyone, did you get it?
I am getting
Volunteer. Okay, maybe we can go straight to volunteers. Volunteers for the easy one. Emre, choose.
Like we need. Okay, come.
Guys, try to be creative with this and
Yeah.
let's have fun.
Do some
He doesn't even know. He doesn't. He's like you got the easy one.
Chicksene mine har det. Om du ligger bak, det vi som sier ha det. Heller ned på høykant, alt det vi får tak i. Du vet at det her vanlig. Trenger ikke ha noe krone på for å vite at jeg konge. Du vet hvor festinga foregår. 1, 2, 3 steg foran deg. Vil du være med, må du holde hele dagen. Jeg med, så bare la meg vite når. Det du blir fortalt, det word, head start. Tømmer 1 shot, 2 shot, alle her skal ned. Gutta står i kø for å legge ut for det. Trenger ikke ta med lommeboka mi, for du vet at det her vanlig. Trenger ikke ha noe krone på for å vite at jeg konge. Du vet hvor festinga foregår. 1, 2, 3 steg foran deg. Vil du være med, må du holde hele dagen. Jeg med, så bare la meg vite når. Du vet at det du blir fortalt, det word. Vil du være med, må du holde hele dagen. Jeg med, så bare la meg vite når. Du vet at det du blir fortalt, det word. Head start. Gutta står i kø for å legge ut for det. Trenger ikke ta med lommeboka mi, for du vet at det her vanlig. Trenger ikke ha noe krone på for å vite at jeg konge. Du vet hvor festinga foregår. 1, 2, 3 steg foran deg. Vil du være med, må du holde hele dagen. Jeg med, så bare la meg vite når. Du vet at det du blir fortalt, det word. Vil du være med, må du holde hele dagen. Jeg med, så bare la meg vite når. må du holde hele dagen. Jeg med, så bare la meg vite når. Du vet at det du blir fortalt, det word, head start. Tømmer en shot, 2 shot, alle her skal ned. Gutta står i kø for å legge ut for det. Trenger ikke ta med lommeboka mi, for du vet at det her vanlig. Trenger ikke ha noen krone på, for å vite at jeg konge. Du vet hvor festinga foregår, 1, 2, 3 steg foran deg. Vil du være med, må du holde hele dagen. Jeg med, så bare la meg vite når. Du vet at det du blir fortalt, det word. Vil du være med, må du holde hele dagen. Jeg med, så bare la meg vite når. Du vet at det du blir fortalt, det word, head start. Vil du være med, må du holde hele dagen. Jeg med, så bare la meg vite når. Du vet at det du blir fortalt, det word, head start. Trenger ikke ha noen krone på, for å vite at jeg konge. Du vet hvor festinga foregår, head start.